Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to the podcast. We are going to talk today about the people who are having lack of engagement on Instagram. Like for those of you who are frustrated because you're like, I'm putting all this time and effort into posting and I feel like I get crickets, or you feel like Instagram is just such a slow slog in terms of growing, which by the way, it is. But I'm going to give you 3 tips on how you can fix this. So let me just tell you right from the beginning here that this is for people who are trying to grow their Instagram, grow their reach, grow their engagement on Instagram. If that's not you, just like forward this to a friend, forward this to a small business owner, friend that you know. If you're listening like on the podcast app, there's a way you can like forward podcasts. My friends and I forward podcasts, to each other all the time. And so forward the podcast to somebody who's trying to grow her small business on Instagram, because this is going to be helpful. And so, it's just interesting. Facebook is one thing right now in terms of reach and engagement, and Instagram is quite another. I will tell you that it is so much easier to get reach and engagement on Instagram right now for me than it even is on Facebook. And it makes me feel like I'm cheating on Facebook, honestly, because I build a huge platform on Facebook with 360,000 followers, but Facebook just keeps changing everything. It just gets harder and harder. And I still feel like we're able to get such a better reach on Instagram. So we're going to talk about some ways you can fix your engagement problem. So before that, I just want to read a quick review over on, she went to Apple and left me a review, and her name is Monica, and it's from the Painting Barn. And here's what she said. Jen, you've been such a blessing to me, from your honest, genuine, and fun podcast to your inner circle, your Creator's Roadmap course, and your book. It's all been a game changer for me. Thank you for your knowledge, support, and your honesty. So Monica, thank you. And I just want to pray a blessing over you and your Painting Barn business. I pray that wherever God currently has in your business journey, that you would not look to the left nor to the right, but you would just look at what God's plan is for you and your business. And I just pray a blessing on everything that you set your hand to, the hedge of protection about you. No weapon formed against you or your business shall prosper in Jesus' name. So thank you for your podcast review. Amen and amen. So, okay. I have gotten, by the way, I love when you guys leave reviews on the podcast. Thank you. And any opportunity I have to grab one and pray over you, I want to take advantage of that. So if you've never left a review on the podcast, we'd love it if you went and did that. Okay, so 3 reasons that your engagement is down on Instagram and what you can do to fix it. Okay, number 1. And by the way, these are things that I see over and over, both from people I follow. Actually, it's not so much as people I follow, because the people I follow do a pretty good job they're pretty Instagram savvy, but it's a lot of people who are inside of my monthly coaching group, inside of my inner circle, because I review Instagram, feeds for them and look at bios for them, et cetera. And so, number 1, the one reason, and these are in no order, that your engagement is down is because you're just posting just to post. Like, I always tell the people in my group, you need to be posting regularly, at least twice a week, to your Instagram feed. You just do. It's like Instagram wants to know that you're like legit and you're actually showing up and you're putting something on the feed. And if you're not showing up on a regular basis, you're very forgettable. And I know that just sinks. It just does. What's that song? Unforgettable. Also, funny side story. So one time I tried out for choir in 6th grade, and they couldn't tell if I was an alto or a soprano. And they basically said, you can't sing. And I said, okay. So I twirled baton instead. Okay, I digress. Okay, so posting just to post is not helpful. And so it's like filler content. It's like fluff. It's like me going to Instagram today and just saying, happy Wednesday. Bump. And that's it. Like, nobody's going to engage with that. And you want people, Instagram is the same as Facebook in that there are levels of engagement. Okay. So if somebody reads, one of your Instagram posts in the feed and they give it a heart, like that's fine. That's like a handshake, right? It's like, I got you. Like, great. That was nice to read, handshakey, whatever. If they comment, that's like a hug, man. That's like, okay, we took this relationship one step further. If they share it with a little, paper airplane icon, or if they save it, like that is what you want them to do. And that's like a full-blown kiss. That's like, now we're in a relationship, baby. And that's what you're wanting. So let's say that you came to Instagram this morning, and I'm recording this on Wednesday morning, and you just posted, happy Wednesday. Like there's no reason for anybody to share that to their stories. There's no reason for anybody to save that. You're not going to get the kiss. And I don't even know that you'll get the hug other than from people who are maybe like your closest friends, your mom. You know what I'm saying? And so you might get some likes, but that's like handshakes, and handshakes don't put dollars in your bank account. So we've got to stop with the fluff. We've got to stop with just posting for the sake of posting, because even though you might be like making the algorithm happy in terms of consistency, you're like breaking the algorithm's heart in that you're just posting stuff that nobody's actually going to engage with. So it's almost better at this point to post nothing than to post filler content. It's just filler. It's just fluff. And Instagram don't like fluff. Neither does Facebook, by the way. But we're talking about Instagram today. So instead, I want you to do posts where you're inviting conversation. Like if you had to post a happy Wednesday thing, I'd want you to follow it up with, what are you working on today? One of the best posts that I used to do on Facebook and Instagram all the time when I still owned my painting company was, what are you painting or making pretty today? And it would get tons of engagement back. It's a little bit harder now that I'm a business coach, because people don't have the opportunity to post, beautiful pictures on what they're working on like they did on Facebook. And it's a little bit harder on Instagram simply because they can only reply, with words and not with a photo. But I want you to post things that people are going to comment on. Let me give you an example. Yesterday was the election. And by the way, this is not a political statement, but I did a selfie, and I just put, does anybody else feel, because this was like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. Anybody else feel like you're dilated to a 10 right now and you're going to need a second epidural to get through this night? Is it just me? So the bump would have been if I just said, does anybody else feel like you're dilated to a 10 right now and you need a second epidural? I mean, that's kind of sort of a question, but the is it just me is what leads to 200 comments. Does that make sense? Like you have to invite them into the conversation. You want them to read your post and go, oh my gosh, me too. Oh my gosh, me too. Oh my gosh, me too. So instead of just happy Wednesday, you could post something like, does anybody else feel like this is the most Monday Wednesday ever? The most, Monday-ish Wednesday, like invite them into the conversation. You have to remember that when it comes to like writing a book, when it comes to writing a blog post, when it comes to writing a post, writing at like a 6th grade level is imperative. You don't need to talk above anybody's head and be all fancy, but you do need to act like a middle schooler where you're like, hey, I want to be a friend. Do you want to be a friend? Let's talk. Friends talk. Invite them into the talk. Post things where they're actually, going to have an opportunity to respond to below. So that's one thing. Number 2, the reason why you might not be getting any engagement or the engagement you want on Instagram is because you're not being vulnerable. Vulnerable. Okay. By vulnerable, I mean, does anybody even know who you are? Ooh, I got a word from the Lord this morning, by the way, that some of you, it's time for you to come out of hiding in your business. Some of you have been hiding behind your brand. You've been hiding behind your brick and mortar logo. You've been hiding behind never showing your face. You've put on 20 pounds during coronavirus, just like I have. So you're not showing your face anymore. You're not happy with your wrinkles. I get it. And I get it some more. Listen. If you're going to grow your business, like at some point, you got to get to this point where you're like, okay, what is more important to me? Hiding, growing my business, hiding or growing my business. And if you're watching me on YouTube right now, you're like you're seeing me with like scales. If you're just listening on the podcast app, it's not nearly as powerful. Does that make sense? Like you have to get to a point where you're like, okay, I may hate selfies, but if it's going to help with sales, like I'm willing to do it. When people come into my coaching group and a lot of times I'm reviewing their Facebook page or their Instagram account and I'm like, yo, I don't see you anywhere on here. Oh, I know. I don't like how I look in photos. Well, who cares? I don't always like how I look in photos either. I didn't ask you if you enjoyed how you looked in photos. I asked you, why is there no pictures of yourself? See, people will do business with people they know, like, and trust. Yes, you who's selling earrings. Yes, you who owns a boutique. Yes, you who has a brick and mortar. They want to know who's behind the account. There are many boutiques that I follow that I maybe don't know who owns the account, but I see the same like models, in the clothes, time after time after time. So they're like the face of the brand. You've got to have a face of the brand. You have to. You have to have people in 2020 are craving human connection more than ever before. So they need to see an actual face. Okay. When the world is all masked up right now and everybody's staying home and it's a dumpster fire and all of the things, people need human interaction, and seeing your face and looking into your eyes and knowing who the person behind the brand is going to help them pull out a debit card and give it to you. Maybe not on the first time that you do a selfie, or the second time, because usually if you're going to do a selfie, you're also not asking for a sale. But listen, this is why influencers are killing it on Instagram. This is why Jennifer Reed is killing it on Sister Studio IG. Showing up every day, makeup or no makeup. God's woke me up before and had me do, Instagram lives and Facebook lives in a robe from a hotel, no makeup. It makes you relatable. It makes people just, it's like, we think that we need to have this Barbie persona. And the truth is that people don't relate to that. They don't. They relate to real women, to real life people who aren't always polished. You don't have to put on your now I'm a business person hat and I've got to get on the Instagram and I've got to have a professional photo taken. I mean, if you want to do that, fine. But listen, you know what I've noticed about 2020 is that the curated feed that people are trying to tell you need, no. Go with an authentic feed that is relatable, where you are involving people in your content every day of the week. That's going to kill it over curation. I want you to think right now, again, not a political statement, but I want you to think about maybe some of the political accounts on either side, whether you're red or blue of the aisle that you followed during this election season. Do they give a rat's petunia about having a curated feed? No, friend. They're doing screenshots of Twitter. They're doing, crazy looking clips of videos and putting on their feed. They care not about curation. They are putting out stellar content. And that stellar content has got to include a portion of you, babe. It has to. It has to. So some of you need to come out of hiding. Thus saith the Lord. Thus saith the Lord. Oh, if that's you, would you let me know on Instagram? Thank you so, so much. And one of the best ways, if you're like, oh, I hate selfies, then start doing Instagram stories. I have trainings on Instagram stories. Get in my inner circle where we teach on Instagram stories. Just get in front of a window. I learned this tip a long time ago that literally, if you are doing a selfie, hold your phone up to the window. Literally have your hand resting on the window. If you're watching me on YouTube, you're seeing me, so that your phone is resting on the window itself, which then you won't shake, and you will have the best lighting. You don't need to be in front of a light kit. You don't have to go outside with a freaking montage of people with cameras. I mean, in a perfect world, that would be great. But the majority of us are wrangling kids, and we're trying to get through 2020 with our sanity intact. And, we're just trying to get through the day right now. Honestly, ain't nobody got time for the photo montage. The crew, the posse. So quit worrying so much about perfect curation and worry instead about just stellar content. And that stellar content has got to include some of you. It just has. It has to. Third thing, third reason why your engagement could be down, how to fix it, is you're asking open-ended questions. So Mr. Magic taught me this years ago. So before Jason was my CFO, he, and Mr. Magic is my husband's name, not because he's related to Magic Mike, but because my painting business was called The Magic Brush. So my Facebook followers named him years ago, Mr. Magic. And of course he grinned ear to ear, and that has stuck. So before Mr. Magic was my CFO, which has been in the last 2.5 years, he was in sales. He's been in food sales for a long, long time. And, I have never thought of myself as a salesman and a salesperson, a saleswoman, whatever. And, but he has always had some really great tips for me on selling. And one of the things that he has talked to me about is, that when you're in sales, you ask a lot of open-ended questions, and which works great on a face-to-face basis. But what I've learned is that in the online space, you have to just assume that everybody scrolling through the feed is a busy to distracted. Okay. Remember this. They're busy, they're distracted. So they may read your post and never comment. In fact, I want you right now to go through your brain, go through your memory. And think of like if you were on social media already today, how many posts did you actually comment on? I haven't commented on hardly any today, I don't think. In fact, I don't even know if I commented on anything today. Why? Because I'm busy and distracted. And so if you're busy and distracted, you're not commenting either. So if you're busy and distracted and I'm busy and distracted, and we're assuming that our clients, are maybe busy and distracted also, like you have to make it so easy for them to comment. So that means sometimes not open-ended questions, but you feed them the answer. So that looks like doing polls on your Instagram stories that are yes or no. That looks like you posting questions like, do you think that I should do A, B, or C? That looks like, tell me if you were going to buy this for somebody. Do you think that it would be better in red, pink, or white? Like that means giving them options, because busy people, if they see something in their feed from somebody they know, like, and trust, because they've watched you, post things and it's meaningful things, you're not just posting fluff to post, and you've put some of yourself out on social media, you're not hiding. So they've seen your face. They feel like they know you a little bit. And then they get a post from you on the Instagram feed that says, what do you think I should do? 1 or 2. It's easy just to type in 2, babe. 2. And they don't have to sit and think about an actual typing out of an answer. Does that make sense? Now, this isn't going to work for everybody, because some of you who may be more influencers or coaches, you need to be posting things that are more like a blog post fashion. And some of the responses that you're going to get are going to be, paragraphs long and sentences. But for those of you who are really struggling with engagement, I want you to do some tests this week. I want you to test the 3 things that I just gave you. Stop with the fluff, number 1. Number 2, make sure you do some posts of yourself. And it could even be like you can even say this. Okay, I rarely show my face. In fact, this is the first selfie I've done in years. In fact, my friend Katie Clemente from Katie Clemente Studios, I know I always say her name wrong, but she says it's okay because she loves me. But she's been in my coaching group for years. I recently saw a selfie that she did of herself, and I was so proud of her. She never does selfies. And she said, I never do selfies. If you want, say it. I never do selfies. And in case you're wondering who the person is behind this Instagram account, I just wanted to say hi today. How are you? Watch your engagement go through the roof if you've never done that. Watch it go through the roof. Watch it go through the roof. And make sure you have your Instagram set up so that it's a business Instagram, so you get insights, so you can see it go through the roof, okay? And then the third thing is do what I just did. You can either ask a question like, how are you doing today? Or don't ask those open-ended questions. Give people like an A or B answer, or a 1, 2, or 3, or just the ability to say, okay, like seriously, like how many hours a day roughly do you work? Or I used to ask questions like, tell me what's normal in terms of how many pillows go on a bed. And so if you give a really, a specific question that people don't have to think of this long answer, they can just throw in a number, they can throw in a letter. A lot of times that will help get some engagement going on your account. And a lot of you just need some engagement restarted. Your account has, perhaps you've kind of let it fall off a little bit because it is 2020. You've been homeschooling kiddos. You've been, just not in the right headspace. I get it. But if you want to resuscitate and give mouth to mouth to your Instagram account, do those 3 things, okay? All right, final bonus tip here. If you are seriously struggling with engagement, I want you to have conversations in your DMs. Make sure you are answering them. There's 3 places, 3 different folders. There's the primary folder, the general folder, and then there's the people who have never messaged you before, and there's a little arrow, and so there's that folder. So make sure you're responding to all those DMs. DMs are not a fabulous place to sell. They're a fabulous place to seed plant. Okay, somebody write that down. Your DMs are not a fabulous place to sell, but they are a fabulous place to seed plant. Or if you're selling something, they are a fabulous place for people to ask questions about what it is that you're selling. Okay. So if you are not somebody who spends much time in your DMs, I spend at least an hour, but usually 2 hours a day on my Instagram DMs. I just do. I find it's great for relationship building. And I have a whole training that I'll give you for free if you want to go to jenniferallwood.com/DM on giving you some tips for how you can really like use your DMs to your advantage. It is a fabulous with a capital F, capital A, capital B, fabulous way to really turn just followers into like people who really adore you and your brand and will buy the things that you have to sell. So keep seed planting, my friends. Go to jenniferallwood.com/DM. You can grab that for free. So anyhow, okay, I hope this was useful. I hope this was really useful for you. Share this with somebody else who's working hard to grow her Instagram. It can be discouraging, but sometimes what I've noticed is just that one tip will like reframe something in the way you're doing things or shift your perspective or encourage you to try something different. And sometimes it's just that one tip that you try implementing that makes all the difference in the world. So I hope you know that I'm on YouTube also. You could have watched this there if you wanted to. If you're not already following me there, go to YouTube. You can do a little subscribe and we'll plan on seeing you again next week, my friends. Until then, be blessed. Bye-bye.